This is Dalton and PB from Standard Capital. What we're going to talk about now is Series A milestones. PB, how do I know if my startup is ready to raise a Series A? What milestone should I be aiming for?
You really want evidence that you've made something people want. And so it isn't necessarily a exact revenue number. You could have a huge revenue number, but not really have a scalable business. And at the same time, you might have no revenue at all, but you have a lot of customer demand. So what you want is evidence that really the business that you have is one that can grow to be worth billions of dollars.
Yeah. I remember a few years ago, the thing that all founders were taught to think is that you needed $1 million of annual recurring revenue. And that was the gold standard. Even at the time, that was kind of bogus, but that was what they were taught. And then I think the current conventional wisdom is that you need 3 million annual recurring revenue. The milestones have gone up because of how fast AI companies are growing. Is that completely wrong? Or is there is there any wisdom in that?
Those are reasonable numbers. I mean, I think those are good targets where you want to think about it's time to raise a Series A. You also need to think about just your fundraising goals. Are you ready to actually scale the team? So one of the big issues is just before you actually have product market fit, it's dangerous to grow their company because the larger it is, the harder it is for you to pivot. You shouldn't be looking to pivot. You should actually have a business that's ready to grow and ready to scale. And so, a big factor is actually just are you ready to take this company and make it 10 times as big?
I know there was some content that was put out a while ago by another VC firm that they were looking for 10x year-over-year growth. And if you didn't have that, they'd laugh you out of the room. Obviously, we don't think that, but what do you think a good milestone is for someone to be growing to raise a Series A?
10x is great. Maybe 100x, I don't know. Again, it's going to depend on the business. I think that you do need to have a clear path to where you can see this growing into a $10 billion, $100 billion company. And so you need at least a story that you can tell of how the current market that you're in is going to support that kind of company without needing to invent an entirely new business along the way.
And so from our perspective, obviously we are Series A investors ourselves, so we can answer this. What would we be looking for? What are the milestones that would make Standard Capital interested in a company that wanted to raise a Series A from us?
Obviously, great revenue growth is there. We want to see great customers. We want to see that your customers are hopefully scaling up with the product. They're using it more. It's not just pilot, but actually something where they've committed long-term, and that there's a lot of demand from other companies.
That makes sense. Maybe the one thing I would add is we're very thoughtful about what vertical you're in, and it totally depends. And so one of the reasons I always struggle when someone asks me this question and I have no context about their company, I'm like, well, what does your company do?
Yeah.
Right? So for instance, a hard tech company building space something, probably you're not going to be live with a lot of revenue. It depends on the idea, maybe. Versus if you're building a self-service SaaS tool, yeah, you should have a lot of revenue and you should be growing really fast. And so what I would encourage founders to do is research comps or peers for their relative growth rates, for their revenue scale, for their logos, and then sort of plot yourself against those comps. I know I've heard you say this, which is you want to be growing faster than your competitors and not slower.
Yes.
Maybe that's obvious advice, but
yeah, we want to believe that you're on a path to being the winner. Startups are a power law business, and so you want to be first place. Second place is worth 10% as much as first place, maybe. And third place is a talent acquisition.
And this is where growth rate comes in, right? It's totally fine if you're way smaller than your competitor, as long as you're growing faster.
So you want to know how soon are you going to be the number one in the field?
And so the way I would summarize this for us is we are not attached to $1 million ARR. We've made a number of investments in sub-million ARR companies, as well as many with way more revenue than that. But it was always bespoke to what vertical they're in and what comps we were looking at.
Yes.